Alright guys, in this video we're going to be talking about the alignment tool here in MatterControl. This is a super useful tool. You're going to use it a lot as you're modeling objects in here. So I'm just hoping to give you a brief overview of how this works. So let's say that we have two objects in our scene and we want to line them up. In this case, I'm going to line it up so that the corner of this cube is in the center of this one and midway up. So that is the shape I want to end up with, but I want it to be all nicely aligned exactly in the centers. So how do we do that? To do that, we use the alignment tool. So start by selecting the objects you want to align, and you can do that by either clicking and dragging over them, or you can click, hit shift, and then select your next object. Once you've selected your objects, you'll see that this option becomes highlighted, or available, I guess, enabled. And if we click that, it's going to bring up our align options over here. The first thing to pay attention to is our anchor. The anchor is going to determine which one of these sits still and which one of these moves when we perform the alignment. We can click on this drop-down menu and select which one we want to sit still. But this brings up kind of an important point that I want to talk about really quick, and that's that with just the default names, cube, cube1, object, combined, whatever they may be, it can be a little bit confusing to know which is which. So a good practice, and I'm guilty of not doing this, but it is helpful, is to right click on your object and then hit rename and give your object a recognizable name. I'm going to change the color on this one to green and then rename that as green cube. Okay, so now if we perform our alignment, now we have red cube and green cube. So I want my red cube to stay stationary. And now I'll use these options here to perform the alignment. So I'm going to start with the x-axis here. Right here you'll see X options. Go ahead and check that and it'll bring up some additional options here. Now we have align and subalign, and it's kind of important to understand this. It's okay if you get confused, you can just play around with it till you get it where you want it. So align, to my understanding, I could be wrong, but it seems correct. Align is going to determine where on this cube you are aligning your object to. So it could be the far side of our object that we're going to align this to, or it could be the center of the object that we're aligning it to, or the closest side here that we're aligning it to. So it kind of sets the reference point that you're going to align to. Subalign down here is going to pick where on this cube you're going to align to that reference point, if that makes sense. So let me show you. So I want this face here and this edge to line up in the center of this cube. So to do that, I would select here, max, that's going to be this wall here, and I'm going to set my reference where I want that line to line up to the center. There we go. So now we've aligned this wall right here to the center of our red cube. Now you'll also notice offset. I'm not going to use that for this, but let me show you what that does really quick. So offset will allow you to move your selected object, in our case the green cube here, a certain distance off of that reference point. So let's say I wanted to move it 2 millimeters off that reference point. There we go. Our reference point is the center of the red cube, and we've moved our green cube 2 millimeters off of that reference line. Okay, let's move on to our y-axis here. I'm going to want this face here to line up in the center of our cube. So to do that, I'm going to select, let's see, what would that be? I believe that would be the max of our green cube, and we're going to align it to the center of our red cube. Oh, so I did that backwards. Like I said, it can be easy to get mixed up. I want the minimum. There we go. So the minimum here lined up to the center of our red cube. Now z-axis, click on Z options, and I want the bottom of my cube to be in the middle of the red cube. So bottom of my cube, middle of the red cube, there we go. So now, as you can see, this is perfectly aligned so that the vertice in here, actually let me see if I can make this transparent real quick. So now if I make this transparent or clear, there we go, you can see that the vertice of our green, the corner here, is right in the center of our red cube. So that's kind of the power of the align tool. It just lets you get everything nicely aligned, so everything's symmetrical, precise, just how you need it. All right, one other quick thing, just kind of a good practice to have, is after you've finished aligning something, it's a good idea to hit ungroup if you're going to continue to work with these objects. And let me show you why that is. Let's say that I wanted to add another cube to this. We're going to do the exact same thing to this one that we did to our green one, just on the opposite corner, so it should end up looking like that. Actually, let me change the name and color on this cube really quickly. So to do that, we'd select our blue cube and then our red cube here. And if we haven't hit ungroup on these two cubes after we align them, we're going to run into an issue. Let me show you what that is. So I have my object selected. I'm going to come up here to align, and I'm going to set this one to be our anchor. So I want this blue cube, this edge, to line up in the middle of the red cube. So let's see here. We're going to do, I believe that would be our minimum center. And now you can see we have an issue because it didn't line up in the center of the red cube. It lined up in the center of the green and the red cube combined, which is more right here. So that's why you need to ungroup it if you're going to be aligning to these objects in the future. So to fix that, I would come here, select this. You can see that it is still grouped up. I would hit ungroup, and now I can select my red cube and my blue cube and align those to each other. So I'll select my blue cube and then my red cube. Come to align, set my red cube as the anchor. I want this side here, my minimum, to be aligned with the center of the red cube. There we go. I want the front, which I believe would be minimum, of my blue cube to align with the center of my red cube. Nope, should be max. There we go. Like I said, sometimes you just got to play with it to know which side of your object is going to be the correct one. Maybe you guys don't, but I have to. And then I want the bottom of my blue cube to align with the center of the red cube, just like so. There we go. It's all lined up. And then once again, once you've finished aligning it, it's a good idea to hit ungroup so that we now have 3 separate cubes that aren't grouped together, so we can still align to each one independently if we want to. Alright, so I think that just about does it for the alignment tool. Super useful. If you're modeling, you're going to use the alignment tool a lot. So hopefully you found this video to be helpful. If not, I mean, I guess that's too bad. I'll try harder next time. But yeah, hopefully you found it helpful. And if you did, then I guess I'll see you in the next one.